Want to travel to Colombia? Want to travel to Brazil, Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand? In this video, I'm going to speak with a gentleman about how can you fund your travel. Follow along.
Hey, you watching, man? Right now, you're watching DC Born Rob on YouTube.
Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located. Thanks for watching. My name is Rob Christian, also known as DC Born Rob, DC Rob, or Rob. In this video, I'm going to replay a video that I had done sometime in the past, but some of you guys don't get the benefit of looking at my older videos. This is a good one. This one goes over how to fund your travel and a few other travel tips as well. I'm speaking with the Cocoa Nomad, Alondo Brewington. Let's just jump into the interview. Okay, this is DC Born Rob. You're watching Erasing Borders. I'm here with Alondo. We're in Medellin, Colombia, and we're actually at the back of Sweet Georgia Cafe. So in case you hear some noise of them cooking in the back. Anyway, I met this brother the other night. We were just talking. Actually, we met a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, because it was before our trip to Vietnam. And he had told me that he lived in Vietnam for a long time. And we got to talking a little bit more, and I learned a little bit more about him. And found that this brother's got some passports. So while my goal here is to encourage travel and encourage everyone to, whether it's your neighborhood, your city, your state, or even outside the country, first thing you got to do is get that passport if you're leaving this country. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to get your passport. But we got to talking a little bit, and I found out after talking to him some more today that this brother's done a lot. He's opened my eyes to a lot of different things. So let's jump right into it. Alondo, tell us about yourself.
Okay, I'm Alondo Brewington. Known online some places as the Cocoa Nomad. I have a podcast and IG and Twitter. I've been traveling for about 3.5 years consistently now after I left the US, and it's just been something that I love to do. And I realized after a year of traveling that it was for me. I had started with this program called Remote Year that some people probably have heard of. We're traveling around for a year with a group of people. It's a pretty large group. It's about 70 of us when we started. And about halfway through, I was like, well, I'm going to leave the program and just start traveling on my own. I ended up not leaving the program, but I ended up realizing that I absolutely wanted to keep traveling. It was something I wanted to do. I loved it. So I went back home. I sold almost all of my stuff. And so I could just keep staying on the road, everything but the house. But if anybody wants to buy a house in Goldsboro, North Carolina, I've got one for sale. I'm trying to get rid of. But I fell in love with it. It became something I realized that when I started seeing the world, it was something that was so impactful for me that I was like, I don't want to stop. I absolutely don't want to stop. And
it changes who you are.
It absolutely does.
Gives you a different perspective on life when you meet someone from another country.
Yeah.
And you get to chat with them for a while. So I'm going to get the question too, how old are you and how are you able to travel financially?
Okay, that's a great question. I think it's an important thing that everybody, you've got to have a way to fund yourself. You know, I've seen some people that kind of throw caution to the wind and say, oh, I'm just going to start this life. And I'm like, if you have to, I mean, there's people coming from other countries, the US, of course, that have done that. But I think financial stability is the very, very first thing that you need to get a hold of. And it's very important that, you know, I always start with positive cash flow in the month. You need to get that down at home before you go anywhere else. It's like you want to make sure you got more money coming in than you got going out. Because once you build that skill of managing your spending and managing your earnings, then that can go with you anywhere. That travels everywhere in the world. And you'll have different, of course, cost of living depending on where you are, but you have that as a base, and it builds confidence that you know you can take care of yourself as you're traveling. Now, for me, I'm a software developer by trade. Like, I've been coding since I was 12 years old. I've been a professional software developer for over 20 years. So this lifestyle is kind of tailor-made. So when I tell people that, they go, of course you can do it from where you are. But I'm like, I've also experimented, though, and we're going to talk about this, other ways that I've made money, because I always want other people to know, it's like, yeah, even if you don't code, that's okay. It's like, you don't have to be a software developer to be able to do this. I think there are other ways that you can make money. And I've had my eyes open, like my mind blown, literally, when I started traveling and meeting different people and the kinds of things that they did. I'm like, wait, what? I met a nurse who was traveling. And I'm like, how do you even do that? And she's like, shared like how she was doing like remote consulting and sharing these things and doing these the teaching and things remotely, just having an internet connection, like working with hospitals and other nurses and hospital staff like from around the world. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this is a thing that's just not for a certain group of people or certain jobs. It's like you can figure out a way in a lot of cases that you can outsource yourself as it were, to like a remote location and work, and start to take advantage of a lot of the benefits. So I started with the travel program, but then since then I've just been working. I'm a freelancer. I write my own apps in the App Store, and that's how I sort of manage. I also do a little bit of voiceover work too. It's another way that I've managed to make money, and then a couple other things that we'll talk about. We'll get into that are fun ways to make money. You know?
Now, let's take a step back and think for someone that I'm trying to encourage to, or we're trying to encourage to just, leave their state, leave their city, take that first step for travel. Financially, how would you encourage them to do that?
I think I saved money, and I will go back a little step further too, even on the traveling tip, because I'm a big fan of domestic travel. The U.S. is a huge country. Yeah. It's a beautiful country. There's all kinds of different terrains that you don't get if you live in some of these other smaller countries necessarily. So I actually started traveling within the U.S. first. I actually did a lot of themed trips. Like I would hop in my car. Like I'd watch the Food Network and they would visit these barbecue places. So I literally plotted a barbecue trip across the Southeast. I got in my car and drove from North Carolina all the way to Austin, Texas, looped back through Arkansas and Memphis to get those ribs, and back through Georgia, which is home. I'm originally from Atlanta. So like I stopped and I get my Georgia cue too, and work my way back. And I would do that around golf. I did it around poker. I did it around barbecue. I've done it around I wanted to do a train. I had never ridden on a train. So I bought a train ticket and I rode a train from Carolina to DC to Chicago to Denver and back. And just to see like what that life would be like. What is it like to see the country by train? And I highly encourage it. Just know that if you catch Amtrak, once you leave the East Coast, it's gonna be late, like by 2 or 3 hours. That train is always late. It's crazy.
Oh. Yeah, I have my experience on that too. And I've traveled around, I think I've done maybe 33, 34 states out of 50 states. So where have you been? What's your favorite places to go to in the U.S.?
Okay, so I'm about the same as you. I've done about 30, 35, 36 states. I love the Southeast, but I mean, I'm a Georgia boy, growing up in the Georgia line, as I call it, growing up in the Carolinas and Georgia. So like, that's my home, that's my stomping ground for like those 3 states. I literally will drive around like the 3 states just to do tech talks. Like I talk about coding and stuff. Okay. My favorite place to travel, that's hard because like for different reasons, to me, like a trip has like a specific meaning. Like when I go to a place, like I love that barbecue trip. Like that barbecue trip is probably like top ranked number one American experience I ever had. Was like learning about burnt ends in this little town in Arkansas, getting like really good Texas brisket in Austin, eating at this weird place called the Shack down in Mississippi, and it's got all kinds of different kind of barbecue. Of course, the Memphis rib, you can't. That speaks for itself, you know. So I really did. That's probably my favorite. I'm a snowboarding fan too, so like going out to Utah and like I love to do that too. So that's like a favorite like trip of mine. So like to go to Brighton, it's a little small place, away from the bigger resorts like Park City and stuff. It's really inexpensive. The people are really friendly. It's amazing powder, so like it's a good experience there. But even there's a budget way to do it too. Like there's a little place called Sugar Mountain in North Carolina. You can go there. Like everything. I try to find a way to do it like on a budget. Like if I don't have the money to do something like starting out in my career, of course I didn't. So like ways to fund the trips or smaller trips, and just get a taste of it. I think when you start traveling, you start to learn about yourself. And the things I think you can get down with domestic travel is like learning how to pack, like what you need, getting your essentials down. Cause you start to learn like, man, I don't need all this stuff. Like when you first start taking these trips, you got like 3-4 suitcases.
It takes a while to get there.
Yeah, but you learn to like, you get it down to the essentials. And like now I can literally pack and go back to my apartment right now. I can be packed and done and out in 30 minutes. Like I pride myself on like, I can get going.
It's gonna take
like,
a little bit longer.
Not that I've ever had to, just like I've never had to flee a country. But like I can if things go sideways.
If you need to,
like, yeah, I can get out in 30 minutes. Like
So for like local travel, I guess the first thing for someone to do is something close by. So get out of your neighborhood first, then get out of your city. And if you're gonna leave a state, I don't know, you can hop on a Greyhound. I've taken Greyhound before. Amtrak is another. Amtrak, to be honest with you, is not cheap. No. Amtrak is not budget. Sometimes it's cheaper to fly.
You can get some deals. They have you can get like a package and there's some deals that you can get.
I guess it depends on where you're going.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Where you're coming from too. I mean,
so like the quick trip to New York from Carolina, it's a $49 train ticket.
What?
And it's a great ride. It's internet on the train, and you can it'll get you up to DC like for $50.
And the seats are comfortable.
Yeah. And you can walk around. That's the other thing. You can stretch your legs.
Exactly. Go to the bar car. Go to the cafe car.
Always do that.
Yeah. I've been we did a trip once from Northern California, from San Francisco down to LA.
So that's
down the coast.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Beautiful. And we had our own room. I always wanted to do a sleeper car. Amazing.
I would say absolutely. Just like as a travel tip, even my trip all the way to Denver, I didn't get a sleeper car. Like I sat in that one seat and just got to walk around. I would not advise doing that. If you're going to go that far, get a sleeper car.
If you're going far.
Going far. Yeah. No, for the DC quick trip, it was like a great like day trip. Like you could just get up, do DC and visit and then come back. It's like wonderful way to do it. I think it's a great way to start traveling. Like it's a good way to start by seeing the U.S. if you don't have a passport yet, because you're going to have to get one if you want to leave the U.S.
Yeah, start early on the passport.
Yeah.
That's going to be a process for you right there. It doesn't take long. Yeah. I mean, it's relative. It depends on how soon you want to leave. But how long did it take you to get your passport? Let's talk passports too.
Okay.
Because this brother's got some passports. I saw them earlier. You don't have them handy, do you?
They're in the bag back there.
Yeah, we'll pull them out later. I'll have them pull it out later. I'll go ahead and stop. We'll pull that out because you got to see this. I thought I had some stamps in my one passport. This brother's got 3. But if you're not traveling outside the country for something that's closer, that's what we're encouraging you to do. Get out, start small, learn how to pack. Learn how to pack light. Stay for a day. Stay for 2 days if it's something like that. Have an event to go to. Food is a good choice, like you said. Food Network is a good one to start. Absolutely. Find this place that you've seen on TV that they said it was just great, and go and find out for yourself.
Now I'm gonna be a homer and just recommend, as a Georgia, like I said, I'm a Southern boy, Georgia Atlanta. I'm gonna tell you places you need to go for food. And the first place you need to take yourself is Charleston, South Carolina. You need to get down to the Low Country. We're down there. Our history is strong. There's a lot of food. Yeah. When I was a kid, when we left Atlanta, my dad got stationed in Charleston, so I spent a lot of years down there, and I go back all the time. But if you want a good food experience, man, Charleston, you can't do better than Charleston. I would say Charleston and New Orleans are like the 2 places for food that I would highly recommend anybody travel. Even I tell people from other countries when they come to the States, because most people think about New York and Los Angeles, Chicago. I'm like, no, you need to see New Orleans, you need to see Charleston, South Carolina. There's a lot of history, a lot of good food, and a great experience. And it's definitely something. And Savannah's another one too. Savannah's another place where I would say, you can really experience these beautiful like coastal southern cities and have that experience. They're definitely worth it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and pause right here. Okay, so I had my next question I wanted to ask, and I brought it up before. I wanted to ask Alondo to bring out his passports. He's got 2 out of his 3, and he had one tip on that third one, on the active one. What's that tip you want to share that with?
Okay, so when I'm traveling, I always keep my passport in a safe. So like if you need ID, like I have my driver's license on me when I'm walking around a lot of times. Usually I carry very minimum, like ID, maybe a credit card or debit card or something, and then just cash. But normally I just have my ID and cash when I'm walking around, and my hotel key or my apartment key or whatever. That's it. Because you're traveling just like any place. You want to be careful. You can lose something. You can get pickpocketed. I've been very fortunate in all my travels in 3.5 years. I've only had one thing stolen, and that was at a concert at a music festival in Paris. That's it. Good. But I try to be super, super mindful when I'm traveling. To like keep my wits about me and keep my stuff like secure. Photocopy your passport, of course, because it's a hassle if you lose it or if it gets stolen. You got to go find an embassy. You got to try to get them to help you get home or get a replacement passport sent to you, which they can sometimes do. And then if you're getting one before you leave too, as a tip, if you do have short notice, you can get same-day passport service in Expedition if you go to a certain city. Miami's one of them, although I wouldn't recommend going there. I would recommend going to Atlanta. Right downtown Atlanta on Peachtree, you can get it done. Like I've gone in at a 9:30 appointment. I've had the brand new passport in my hand at 11 o'clock.
You need to show reservations of where you're going to go, though? Like, do you need to show hotel stay or what you're going for?
You're supposed to, but I didn't. They didn't even ask me for that. Like, I literally, before, because I had to get a new one. And the reason why is because this one, I ran out of room. I made a mistake of not getting 50 pages in this one. But when you start getting visas, they fill up the entire page. For instance, like, this is my Bolivian visa here. So it's like, they fill up the entire page. My Vietnam visa is, filled up. Yeah. It's also the entire page. And, So you can see like, and then of course all the other stamps are just like stamp. So after a while, I recommend getting the big book. I don't even know if you can get the smaller one anymore. I don't know if they give you the smaller one.
This is a question I had for you earlier too when we were talking out front. Is a stamp a visa?
Yes. So like when you come into a country, a lot of countries, as an American, you have a lot of travel privilege because you can enter a lot of countries without having to apply for a visa. You'll get a tourist visa on arrival. And that's what they're doing. Like that stamp represents your visa. And it'll actually say it a lot of times on it. So it's just a basic visa on arrival. In most countries, you can get at least 30 days on arrival. So
for an American.
Yeah, for an American. Or, I mean, Germans probably have the best one. They have the number one, I think, ranked passport. But we're in the top maybe 10. Europeans, like the EU passport is a big one to get around without a lot of visas. Without having to do anything beforehand. And like some countries, it's very like a long time.
But the thing is, you need to check before you leave. Don't just say, I'm going to Bolivia and think that they have a passport on demand for Americans. You need to do due diligence.
Yeah.
As Vietnam, it was a process.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just walk in Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's a process that you need to go through.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Check the State Department's website. State.gov, I believe, and they'll list by country, like what you need for country by country. And they'll also list things like if you need to get certain vaccinations, if you need to carry, because like I also carry around my vaccinations. So
Oh, really?
proof, yeah. So like certain countries you go to, certain parts of the world, you
Yellow-
have
yellow
yellow
fever,
fever, encephalitis, all these different kinds of things. And so I have that too. And that's another thing that I don't keep out. Like I just make sure I have it like secure so that when usually with my passport. Although I have never been asked for it. Like I've never been asked for the vaccination card in any country I've been in.
I've never been asked either. Not that I've been to half as many countries as you have. One thing I have used before is when you apply for your passport, you're able, as a U.S. citizen, to get a passport card as well. Now, supposedly that's only good if you're going into Canada and to Mexico. And that's only if you're walking. If you're flying, you still need your passport. But every country that I've been to, I was able to carry that on me and use that as ID. Instead of walking around with my passport or even a photocopy of my passport, I was able to use that as ID. It has the number information that's on it too.
That's a good tip. I should get
So-
one of those. I don't even have one of those. Like I should get
Yeah.
one because I need some ID and my driver's license is about to expire. And I'm kind of done with driving, but
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, me too. Done with driving as a wrap. And that's one thing. That's a good thing too. When you go to another country, you may want to experience driving a scooter or maybe a motorcycle or something, but driving a car in another country, that's another goal.
Yeah.
If you're going to live there for years, maybe you want to get a car and you're out on the mountainside.
And having an international driver's license, if you can get it before you leave, that's a good tip too. Like do that. I didn't do that, and I've been a couple of places where I couldn't like drive. Like they wouldn't, like I have to have it, or they'll make you pay. Like a lot of places, there's a few places in the world you'll pay for it. Like you give them a little extra money, they'll overlook the fact that you don't have an international driver's license. But I also didn't have a motorcycle license. So when I went to Greece, I was in Paros once, and I could not rent the motorcycles there without the motorcycle driver's license from the States. So I had to rent a four-wheel. I had to have the ATV instead.
I just have an MC on my license, but I thought that was just for the state. So I can't use that outside the country, right?
Use it in Greece. Like it's good enough in Greece. Like if you go to Paros, absolutely, you can rent a motorcycle there.
Need to go to Greece. I won't be renting a motorcycle here in Medellin, let me tell you.
You should go to Greece and you should go to Paros. Everybody talks about Mykonos and those other places, but Paros is like low key. It's like really cool. It's like a
Okay,
beautiful place.
that brings up another subject. Now, I've asked you where your favorite places were inside the country. How about outside the country? The world. Pick number one place and tell us why. Number two and number three.
Yeah.
Places and tell us why.
They're all food based, man. To be honest, I'm just gonna be real with you. Like I travel for food. Like I'll like I told you, I'll get in a car and drive halfway across the country for barbecue. I'll get in a plane and travel. So my favorite place is I love Thailand. Thailand's like my number one like place. I love being there. I love the food there. It's my favorite food in the world. And both north and south. So like I lived in Chiang Mai for a while. It's like 4 months in Chiang Mai, and also lived in Koh Phangan for a little bit down on the south side. And so it had everything that I like doing: riding a scooter, eating good food, and training Muay Thai, which I just love. So it's like, all right, I can do this every day.
Seems like you would.
I can live this like cool lifestyle. Second is Mexico. I think Mexico has some of the best food in the world. Like you are just really, in fact, right now there's a series on Netflix. I would highly advise if you watch the Taco Chronicles. Each episode that they've done in season 1 is about a different type of taco.
Really?
It's amazing. In fact, I'm going back to Mexico tomorrow.
I like tacos. I know. That's why I need to catch you.
Yeah. I love Mexico. Like, and then the third is because and these are all that have great street food too. That's the other thing. Is I'm a big street food guy.
Okay.
And then third is Kuala Lumpur. Like Jalana Lord is just like this great street for food there. I mean, there's great food period in Malaysia, but like in Kuala Lumpur, there's like this really good street food scene that is there. It's just absolutely amazing, and you can eat almost 24 hours. Like pretty much, like you can. The street food is open to like 3:30. I've had it in the 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's just delicious. I love Colombia as a travel spot, but not for the food.
Oh, I was going to ask that in a second. What do you think of the food here?
So it's definitely like it's typical like South American fare where it's kind of like a lot. You know, you get the rice, you get the chicken. So the banda paisa is like, you know, it's good stuff there. I love plantains. I love plantains. But it's just not spicy.
Sweet. I tell people, bring salt.
Yeah, you gotta
bring slap. Your mama bring some Old Bay seasoning. Bring some seasonal accent.
Yeah.
I found that everything here is. I mean, it's like they're allergic to salt.
Yeah.
And a lot of fat. So if you're health conscious, the banda paisa.
Yeah, chicharrón.
And the sausage.
I'm from the South. We already do it. So it's like you're gonna feel at home. You go, oh yeah, this is like what we have. Yeah, it's just a little different, like the way they cut it and cook it. That's it. But it's a lot of familiar stuff.
And so you like the food in Asia too?
I love the food in Asia, man. Like all across the board. Like Asian food is definitely Malaysian and Thai being my absolute favorites though. Like absolute bar none. Thai food, then Malaysian food, then Mexican food. It's like right there. And that's like it. And then other than that, like southern Spain, like I just love, or just the Costa del Sol, like being in Spain and Portugal, or like the food there in the Mediterranean. It's just Mediterranean food, period. Though I don't care where you are, it's always good because I mean you're getting that fresh seafood and it's very light and it's just delicious. It's very rich.
Okay, so you've been to 33, 34 states, somewhere around that in the U.S. How many countries have you been to?
Currently 37, I think. It's like 37 countries. And this is almost all in the last 3.5 years.
Can you name them? Or give us.
I'm not going to do the Animaniacs thing where you just like name all this now.
No. Just give me some idea as to encourage me to further my travel.
Yeah. So here in South America, I've done Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, Uruguay, Argentina. That's it. In Costa Rica, then Mexico. So that's pretty much like my places in this part of the world, Central and South America, New Mexico, moving back into North America, Canada, US, of course, being from there. Then Europe, I've done most of Western Europe, so Netherlands, England, Scotland, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Croatia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Estonia. Where's Vilnius? Been to Vilnius. I'm drawing a blank on the country. Just south of Estonia, like just outside. And then Asia, mostly Southeast Asia, like Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia,
and you're
Vietnam.
staying.
Yeah, I typically stay like a month.
So it's not like a vacation week or two. Your average stay, you say, don't stay less than a month.
Yeah, typically stay a month. Except for like Estonia, I was there for like a week. In fact, I stayed just under the requirement to do all this extra work to get into the country. I'm sorry, that was Belarus, not Estonia. I just stayed. Belarus also. Belarus is like up in the area, so like that part of the world. Morocco, like 5 weeks in Morocco.
Africa, yeah.
North Africa. I haven't done Southern Africa. So I was like, I feel like next year I'd like to just spend almost the entire year there, just to working my way from
that's
south
on our
all the
travel.
way up.
Yeah.
And just spending a good amount of time in like South Africa, Tanzania, Mozambique, going to Botswana. There's like a place, like as a kid, I had a teacher who used to live there. So she was telling me decades ago, she's like, no, Botswana is like a beautiful place. You need to go. So
Tanzania is another one I want to visit, or Tanzania, however it's pronounced.
So I feel like I'm going to have to be off the grid for that a little bit though, because I just want to explore and I don't want to think about work. I don't want to think about.
You go by yourself?
Yeah, I
Every
travel.
time you travel?
I started, of course, with the travel program, traveling with groups, but most of the travel's been alone because I was traveling alone before then. And that was kind of like my method of traveling I like doing. And but I've learned like it's a great experience to travel with people, to have a shared experience experience. It really is. I've learned to appreciate that a lot in the last few years. So now, even though I'm traveling by myself, I do try to connect with people because you start meeting so many people.
Example right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, I've actually run into people on the street. I was in Poblado last month, and I ran into this guy that I had partied with in Costa Rica like last year. It's like walking down the street, I'm like, Jess. It's like, what's up, dude? Like, what are you doing here? It's just like one of those things, like randomly run into people. It happened in Estonia. I met a couple that I had met in Bali. I was working out of this co-working space called Dojo in Canggu. I met them there, and then we're in another co-working space in Estonia, and he walks up. It's like, hey. I'm like, dude, what are you, like, halfway across the world? You just see people.
It seems like a big world, but it's a small world once you start moving around it. We went to, where were we? Singapore. We were in Little India with my girlfriend, and she met somebody that she knew from work in Houston. What are the odds of it completely around the other side of the world in a small part of town to run into somebody that you know? And it's going to happen. The more you get out, and you're going to meet other people like yourself to get out and travel that you'll probably know from here too.
Absolutely.
Or at least been to the places you've been to. I wanted to ask you right quick too, in Croatia, where'd you go?
I stayed in Split, so I was living in Split.
Oh, we stayed in Split. Okay.
Yeah, I had an apartment there, and that was part of the remote year program. Okay. We were there, but I also went to Dubrovnik, so I went down there. Of course, I did the Game of Thrones.
Did you drive? Yeah, we did the. Yeah.
And then I was in Zagreb too. I spent a couple of days in Zagreb as well.
Up north, yeah.
And so that was a good time. But definitely, like, Split was cool though. Like, doing the boat tours, hopping the islands, going to Hobart, a couple of little small.
We didn't do island hoppings. We drove. Unfortunately, I had to drive a stick.
Oh yeah.
I missed everything out the window because I'm driving and I'm paranoid. I'm in another country and I'm going up the side of the mountain. I have my challenges.
I had some friends that did that. They actually they lost their car.
They have a story,
yeah,
I'm sure, behind that.
Yeah.
Well, let me switch it up a little bit from the travel part and enjoying the travel to how are you able to travel? How do you earn money? Which different ideas would you suggest to the viewers as far as, how to fund their travel?
Okay. So as I mentioned before, I'm a software developer by trade. So of course I've done work, freelance work, contract work. I've even worked full time. I worked for a company out of Denver, Colorado for a number of years. And it's a remote company, so I was able to work remotely for them. But I picked up contract work, freelance work. There's lots of sites that you can get a lot of work on, technical work or non-technical work. And I want to get into that more so because I know if you're a programmer, honestly, you're not going to have any problems. It's going to be fairly easy to find a way to work and get jobs working remotely. But if you're not and you're looking for ways to make money while you're traveling, to fund your travels, the first thing is I would suggest, though, is if you have a full-time job, see if you can start working remotely. And I would start it domestically first. There's a great book by this guy named Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Work Week. And one of the things he suggests in there is to get to a 4-day work week by suggesting like 1 day working from home. And then you prove that you're able to do it because it's a skill. You have to be a self-starting, self-motivated person who can get work done and build that confidence in your employer if that's what you want to do, that you're they can trust you, that you're just not sitting home watching Netflix all day or something like that. And so, but once you build that skill, or if you already have it, then that's where you start. And if that way you don't have to worry, you've already got a steady job. You know? But I would still suggest you look for opportunities to like make money other ways because your world's gonna change. You're gonna start looking at everything completely differently. I promise you. Like the job is great. I quit my job like in month 3, and it's the best job I ever had. Like I love that job, but I was like, ooh, this is a different experience. So I ended up leaving. I was like, I think I'm just gonna dive 100% into this travel lifestyle and doing this a different way.
And you do need to be self-motivating, as you said. You need to get yourself up at 8 o'clock and make sure that you're in front of your desk or wherever you need to be to accomplish what you need to for the day. It is a challenge. It is a challenge. You need to be self-motivated.
And I would suggest, that's one of the reasons why I suggest people have like a savings, or what we call in startup world, like runway. Because when you first start traveling, there's going to be so much you're going to want to see and do. You're going to have what they call FOMO, the fear of missing out, and it's a distraction, because that's what happened to me. That actually was the real reason why I left the job, is because I was missing out on side trips my friends were taking. People were going down to Patagonia for like 9 days hiking, and I was like, man, I want to do that too. I want to go experience that. And so I just feel like I wasn't making the most of that experience. So I just went on sabbatical. I said, okay, I'll just leave and do this. But I had savings. So like, just don't do this on a whim and a dream. Would never suggest anybody do that. I had saved up a year's worth of living expenses, honestly. So like, I could just like go for a year of just exploring and enjoying it. Eventually that money does run out, though, I'm just going to say. So you got to have plan B, you got to keep it coming in. So one of the things I wanted to start doing as I was meeting people was that they were sharing with me how they were making money. I went to this thing called the Nomad Summit in Thailand a couple of years ago, and I started meeting people who were doing dropshipping. I was like, this dropshipping thing was pretty interesting, having these products. So what I did is I went back home when I sold my stuff. What I actually started doing was I sold it on Amazon. So I took the items. I started with my books. So I took all the books I had from like all the way back from undergrad and just like boxed them up. And I scanned them to see like how much they would sell for, and then I shipped them into Amazon. And what they do is Amazon fulfillment by Amazon FBA. And what you can do is you can take items for sale, and you can get them listed, and you put them in a box. I would just go to the UPS store and ship them to the location they tell you. You fill out these forms online on Amazon. You create an account, and they'll tell you exactly what things to put in what boxes and which boxes to ship where. And you don't pay out of pocket for any of that. All that stuff comes out of your sales at the end of the day. So I'm just dropping boxes off. I'm not even coming out of pocket for anything.
Can we take a step back and
Sure.
drop shipping you brought up first? Can you explain what drop shipping is for those who aren't familiar?
Absolutely. So drop shipping is this concept of you're selling products online, but you're not keeping inventory. So basically what you are is you're basically a middleman store for products that you want to sell. And if somebody places an order, when they place the order, then you place the order with your supplier to have that item shipped to that customer. And so it's a way to sort of get into this product sales business without the overhead. They're like, you don't have to have a warehouse. You don't have to buy a bunch of product. I've done that in the past. I've actually done some like MLM stuff. And I was like, when I was younger, people were like, oh, you can make a bunch of money. And I have like a kitchen full of these products. And like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Like, nobody's going to buy it. But this is a way you don't have to do any of that at all. The skills that you do have to have for having a drop shipping store, any online sales at all, is you have to start learning about marketing. You have to start learning about driving traffic, having an audience, and what it's going to take to build an audience and get them interested in something you have to offer. Now, whether that thing is what you have to offer is like a cell phone cover or patio furniture or, some online course that you're teaching or t-shirts, any of these things, that fundamental skill, and that was the main takeaway that I got when I first started traveling, meeting people, was that was essential core skills. Like no matter what these people were doing, they all had to develop that skill of learning how to market online, how to drive traffic, understanding how the search engines work, how to rank for keywords. All of these things are like fundamental skills that will pay off for you whether you never leave your house. This is something, if you were looking to be entrepreneurial, this is skills that you need to have, you need to develop. I'm still developing them. Because again, that whole, you're a software developer thing can work against you. It's like the cushion. It's like, I'll just code. But then I don't build those other muscles. And then like out here watching people like really make money. Like, I was talking to a guy in a Starbucks here the other day. And he's like, yeah, man, I pull in like 10 grand a month on this one thing that I have. And it's a site. He's like, he didn't even do a lot of stuff. He's literally walked in for an hour and then walked out. He's like, I'm done for the day. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, it took him time. And he told me, he's like, it's not quick. It's no get rich quick overnight stuff. He's had that site for 3 years, but he put the work in. He's like, yeah, man, it took a while to build that
beginning is a trudge.
But he's like, now he's able to live off of that. And of course, he doesn't start working. He's like, yeah, I'm launching another one. It's like, do this again, rinse and repeat. Because once you build those skills, you see like, hey, I can make this work in another area to sell another product. And that's my goal now. It's like I'm transitioning to get out of just purely doing software and some of the other things that I'm doing that are trading time for money into doing things that scale, things that have more leverage to them. Not even passive. Like people love to talk about passive income. I'm like leverage income. Put your effort in and get a 10x return for the time that you're putting in. That's the thing I'm focused on now.
Okay, so let's go back to the Facebook, the Amazon FBA. Okay, and I've heard of it, but I've just learned. I guess I learned probably 90% about what I know about it in the past couple of hours from talking to them out front. So give us an idea of how that process works. We get you started with the books, but then from there, where did you go and where could you go?
Oh yeah, so eventually, like selling the stuff that I had already in the house wasn't going to last long because I got to supply new products. Mm-hmm. So what I started doing was I would make trips back to the U.S. when I was visiting, and I got into toys. Toys was the area that I wanted to do with FBA because I'd listened to a bunch of podcasts and different people talking about these other products, and I was having trouble. I wanted to do drop shipping, but I couldn't quite get my head around which product I wanted to sell. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know yet. I have a friend of mine that were roommates in Bali, and that's what he did. He sold the drop shipping. That's his business. He's been doing it for years. But toys, domestically in the U.S., just doing FBA, I would get up in the morning, and because all my friends are going to work, family's going to work, I would go to stores. I would drive to Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, Kmart. I would walk up and down the aisles with my phone. So there's an Amazon app on your phone.
That's the guy you see taking prices and you think, does he work here?
Okay. Just checking prices. And I buy toys on clearance. And so, I buy them all. Like if I see something that's on clearance and it looks like the numbers are going to work out for me, because you scan it. You literally scan it with your phone. Everything comes up, including your fees, like what Amazon's going to charge you. They give you all that information. So you can make snap decisions about do these margins work for me or don't they? And since I'm only doing FBA, I also had the additional storage costs, not just the selling fee with Amazon. So that cut into my margin. So I had to make sure that if I'm going to pick this up and send this in, I want to make sure something's going to sell. And they'll advise you there too. Like the app will literally tell you, like, we don't need any more of this product. Don't send this and don't buy it. Don't.
It's an Amazon app?
Amazon has the app now. There used to be competitors. Amazon actually ended up just releasing their own after a while. Than having it for their sellers.
Really?
Yeah. So you just log in with your account. So all your information is there. Your account information, everything is there. Mm-hmm. And you can see. And a lot of times you don't even have to list because usually someone's already got a listing for that product. So you just piggyback on an existing listing. And what Amazon will do a lot of times is they'll backfill because people are ordering things and they'll need you to ship yours to this location so they can backfill something that's already sold. I've actually had orders. My product has sold before my boxes went out. Because they're just managing their inventory. They're the kings of supply chain management. So that's what they do. That's their bread and butter. So it was great. And a good example of this that I was sharing was that I went in, before the Wonder Woman movie came out, they had some Wonder Woman pencil boxes that were for sale. And they were on sale for $8. And I bought every last one of them. Bought them all, listed them on Amazon for $27. And they sold out. Like those things sold out in the first week. They were all gone. Like boom. Just like that. And I wish I could find some more of those pencil boxes.
How many did you buy?
I think it was like 8. Like 8 of them. That's all they had on the shelf. And like just fill a cart. Yeah. And so the thing about the toys though, that I will say, is that a lot of the items I couldn't sell because Disney is a beast with their copyright. Okay. So you can't even list that stuff on Amazon. Like I could easily have gone into one store, filled up 3 shopping carts full of Star Wars, Frozen, Marvel, all that stuff, but you can't sell it.
Well, the good thing is they tell you.
Yes.
Right, so you can't scan it and think you're going to sell it and then find out later, yeah.
But you can't sell it on eBay.
You can.
Yes. So if I still stayed in the U.S., that's all I would do.
So it's legal on eBay?
Well, eBay doesn't stop you from selling it. They don't stop you from listing it.
But they're not going to come get you and go, you with the Wonder Woman doll in your living room.
eBay's a little less stringent about a lot of things than Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon has a lot more strict rules. Like they'll get you in certain products like you can sell. You have to earn the right to sell like supplements and cosmetics and these kinds of things. You have to get approved for those things. And a lot of times you have to have like a track record before you can move into those areas. Because I know people specialize in those things. Like my roommate, he was doing supplements. That was his thing. And he was early on a lot of things too. Like he got in early on selfie sticks. Remember selfie sticks? He was doing selfie sticks back in like 2015, 2016. And then he got saturated, so he got out. And then he did the same thing with supplements. He got saturated, he moved on to other products. And that's with dropshipping. But yeah, you can do this. You can absolutely do Amazon FBA if you're just home. And this might be a way for you to like fund your travels, like to go ahead and get that nest egg for traveling and then take it forward to fund you as you're going forward. So there's something to think about. And you can save money on margins if you have space in your house to just stock the stuff without shipping it into FBA. Like I had enough room in the house that if I just stayed home, I could just put all these boxes in the corner and do that and sell it and have much better margins. I would have stocked more stuff. And then just ship it when somebody orders it. Because again, at the end of the day, like any business, all that stuff is getting passed on to the consumer. You're not paying that out of the pocket. As a business owner, you know when you sell a product, you know going in what your margins to be for your profit. And depending on if you have to lower your price a little bit, it eats into your margin, but that's eating into your profit. And the beautiful thing about it is that money comes right back to you that you can reinvest into getting more merchandise.
I was going to ask that too. How long does it take to get paid from Amazon FBA from the time you ship it off?
Once you hit the threshold, like you'll have the money in your account, and then I think after 30 days, that's it. Like I hit that threshold, then I can just start withdrawing money.
By threshold, how much you've sold?
Yeah, how much you sold. Like I can't remember the buy. It's not a lot though. It can't be that much because I first sold stuff for $99, $100. I had a songbook of how to play Prince's music, the hits. Remember the hits album came out, volume 1 and 2. I sold that on Amazon for it went for $100. I bought it for $20 a long time ago, and it sold. I had some old computer books that sold. Somebody just wanted some old networking book that I had, and stuff sold for $99. And so I was able to get some of my school book money back, but because that's a whole scam. Textbooks in college, you're spending way more money. But I was able to make some of the money back. I sold some of my old college textbooks. They were able to make some of that money back.
Okay. So now we talked about Amazon. I don't know why I can't keep this straight. Amazon FBA. Now, how about arbitrage? Is that different for them?
Well, that is. So I was doing what is called retail arbitrage via Amazon FBA. So.
Join me on social media. I am DC Born Rob Official on Instagram. I am DC Born Rob Official 1 on TikTok. I am DC Born Rob O on Twitter. Don't be like this guy right here.
You're just so stupid. I had to send you a video to let you know that you're so stupid.
That's right. Don't be like this guy right here. Join me on social media. Headed to Medellin, Colombia? See my guy Andres with Nomad Travel for safe airport pickups and drop-offs and tours. Contact information in the description below. If you're in Medellin and you need dental work done, from a basic cleaning to major reconstructive surgery, come see my guy, Dr. Carlos Maury. Contact information in the description below.